All right, we are live. I need to. This has been on my mind for the last week or so, and I need to get this out. This clip is from an interview that Paul did with Paul, as in PVK, did with Nathan Jacobs. Hang on, so I'm gonna double check something. I think it's Nathan Jacobs, right? I got the name right. Yes, Nathan Jacobs. Just had to make sure. All right, I'm gonna cue this up. It's short. It's all in. It's a 5.5 minute cut clip. Let's put it back up. Good morning, Green Matterite. Afternoon. It's almost, or evening, wherever you are on the planet. Do I want a big me? Big me or little me? What do we want to do here? Let's play it and then respond. I don't do a lot of these sort of things, so I'll do my best.
I have another friend who is grew up in, he's been all over the map. He grew up in a restorationist tradition, Christian church, Disciples of Christ.
Okay. Little history on my personal. I'm the friend. The little correction there. It's because he's. I'm sure it's been a while. Paul consumes tons of videos. In my bio, I point out I was baptized initially. I was thrice baptized. Baptized initially at age 9 into the an independent Christian church type of tradition, but really it's closer to Churches of Christ. It's the more conservative view. Paul, I think, at some point calls it Disciples of Christ. Disciples of Christ are a branch of the Restorationist movement, but they're the mainline branch. The Christian church, Churches of Christ, are the conservative fundamentalist branch. I really wasn't raised in it. I was raised adjacent to it. It was my first baptism at age 9. Was into this Churches of Christ Christian church scene, Restorationism, Stone Campbell movement. I got the book somewhere. Anyway, but my parents almost immediately pivoted to a Southern Baptist church that was literally just a block away from our house. I was a short walk. And there and almost concurrent with that, moved me into a private school, a private Southern Baptist, or not. They weren't Southern Baptist, but they were also a conservative Baptist school. Hey, Tyle, good to see you, my friend. And so that was the really the Christianity I was raised in. It was hardcore Southern Baptist, hellfire and brimstone, evangelical Baptist, Southern Baptist Christianity, which is actually a little more in line with Trinitarian, traditional small O Orthodox Christianity than the Churches of Christ. Churches of Christ, because they so intentionally, explicitly stepped away from the creeds, because the creeds were not in the Bible. Words like the Trinity aren't in the Bible. They don't expressly adhere to them. So it's a little, even though it's conservative, and over time, like many of the movements of the period, it veered into a traditional. All these movements start out radical and in their birth, and then slowly move to center. We see that with the Millerites and the Seventh-day Adventists. We're seeing it with the Mormons. We've seen it certainly with the Churches of Christ. The Disciples of Christ became mainstream and mainline surprisingly early. In fact, the first evangelical pastor, or first evangelical president of the United States, arguably, is James Garfield, who was a Disciples of Christ preacher. Total aside. Anyway, so the correction on my history, I wasn't raised Disciples of Christ. My uncle was a pastor in the Christian church. He was a Christian church pastor, Stone Campbell, very much conservative, but he was not, but I wasn't really raised in it. I was just adjacent to it. I was around it a lot, but I was actually more raised Southern Baptist. And I would stay in the Southern Baptist until they kicked me out at age 17. That's in my bio too, I think.
He was with the Buddhists for a long time.
Yes, with the Buddhists. Should we back this up a little bit? 14 seconds in. With the Buddhists. Yep, let's go back.
Who is grew up in, he's been all over the map. He grew up in a restorationist tradition, Christian church, Disciples of Christ. He was with the Buddhists for a long time, had an experience that sent him back to Christianity, sent him to, then just via family relations, went back to Christian church, Disciple of Christ church. But that, locally that.
Am I on? Yes. The story, my story of how I ended back with Christianity coming out of Buddhism is so strange. Paul knows it well, but it's so strange. He's probably embarrassed to tell his friend Nathan Jacobs about it because it might break poor Nathan's frame.
Sort of went off the rails. And so he's now,
Yeah, well, we've talked enough about that.
He's now considering Catholicism, and I think part of the attraction for him is he might look at what you've just described and say, you know what? I'm not Nathan Jacobs. I do not have, I can't read as much as he has read. I don't have enough time in my life to read what he's read. Mm-hmm. I'm not as smart as he is. I'm not as articulated as he is. What attracts me to Rome is the promise. And now a whole bunch of us hear that and are like, yeah, we get the promise. We get the promise. But the promise that wiser, it's the flip side of consumerism. On one hand, it's Android and Apple.
We're going to have to talk about this thing about what is the Catholic promise. Let's play it out for a little bit.
Apple. On one hand, I like an Android phone because whether or not I actually sideload anything, I want to know that Google is, I can put something on my phone that Google maybe doesn't want me to. I'm in charge of my phone, and with Android, it's mix and match, and I can, if I've got enough tech chops, I can do that. Same thing with Windows. I build my own machines. I can put Linux on if I want to. I can do all this stuff because, but the majority of people want Apple because the Apple engineers, they're thinking for you. They know what's best. Mm-hmm. And so all I want to know is that it just works. And so I think for many people, the promise of Rome is, I can't hope to somehow get in my little mind the summation of 2,000 years of Christianity. Mm-hmm. So why don't I just turn it over to Rome and do what they say? And I actually see that also happening with Orthodoxy because part of the ethos of Protestantism is obviously the protest, the rebellion. Right. Why am I going to listen to what some stinking pope says? Martin Luther is in a sense, and in fairness to Martin, you know, he was in kind of a tough spot, and I think that actually, in some ways, Martin would have appreciated maybe the end that Jan Hus had, where, but, Martin's elector looks at Martin as like, I don't know if I want my publishing star to necessarily get burned in the flames, so I'm going to lock him in a castle. So, Martin, you don't actually get to choose what you want. You just stay in that castle, just keep volcanoing as long as it's coming through, and we'll keep the printing presses going. This messy Reformation. And so the promise of Rome is just, it's Apple.
Right.
Supposedly, ideally, of course, and a lot of us will look at Rome, it's like, Steve Jobs was a petty tyrant, and tyrannies have their own blessings. Mm-hmm. And some might look at Apple and say, it's not the Apple it used to be. Have you seen how many SKUs they have? There should be one iPhone. It should have no buttons and no ports, and it should be one seamless, pure thing. But I see many now going to orthodoxy very much out of what you just laid through and say, I just want to offload. The world is too complex. Mm-hmm. And the internet is part of the problem. Mm-hmm. So I just want a priest who's going to tell me what to do, tell me right from wrong, tell me when I need to go to church, tell me what I can eat and can't eat at certain periods. And of course, in some ways, we wandered in a little bit to the question of culture.
Yeah.
Because culture is sort of this in-between space. You can talk about discerning this core of orthodoxy, but obviously through the patchwork of ethnicities and people groups that is Eastern Europe, which was sort of walled off from us for a considerable amount of our lifetimes, or at least if you're old enough. Mm-hmm. Why, if orthodoxy offers this promise, why isn't there an Orthodox Pope?
All right.
Locally that sort of went on.
All right. Is the Catholic Church Apple? The Apple analogy was a tad overextended, but I get the gist. Yeah. Part of the problem I think Paul is having here is that he is seeing through the eyes of the son who stayed at home in the parable of the prodigal. Okay. That's all he can see. Struggling. I mean, Paul's an empathetic man, a kind man, a good pastor. But because he is the son who stayed on the farm, he's blinkered. He can't. I don't think he is accurately describing my experience. And my guess is he's not accurate. He doesn't have a good grasp of the experiences of many others who may or may not be similar to me. My problem is not that I've not found what I'm looking for. This is something that keeps coming up again and again and again with people. People are either happy for me or they're sad for me, or they're sending me lots of warnings and slipping me little notes and messages via links or whatever, warning me about the Catholic Church, which I've not decided one way or another whether it's a fit for me or not. The only way to know how to swim in certain waters is to get in the water. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing my best there, but it's not that I've not found what I'm looking for. I have found what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a place, a community to house it, to invest it, and to share it. The problem ultimately with the church I left in last May is that there was no real fellowship left to be had. The ability to share and grow together. Let me put it this way. Imagine you're a plant amongst many, and you're viewed as an invasive species or a weed to be dealt with. And you can stay and be poisoned, or you can leave. Who's sending links? I see. It's Mark. I trust Mark. As a rule, I don't like links in the chat unless I know you. So what looks like wandering to Paul, because Paul stayed on the farm, has really been me looking for a place to. I've found the pearl. I've sold everything for it. I possess it, so to speak. It possesses me, if you want to reverse it. But the question is there a place that we can call home? And maybe there isn't a place that we can call home. Some of us don't get that. Paul was blessed in a certain kind of family, in a certain kind of culture that allowed him to flourish. He loves it. It loves him. On the other hand, he's also struggling because there's something of a kind of mourning process as he watches it rip itself apart. And the question for him this time is this the it? Is this the time that it finally tears itself apart completely, as some other denominations have done? And Paul's he'll tell you, he's very much in its family. It's a family denomination in a sense. It's rooted in a kind of common immigrant experience in the United States. And that's the CRC. It's fine. But I've got to find a place, a fellowship, where I can invest this treasure I've been given through Jesus Christ, in Jesus Christ, both through and in. And one of the very few places I've not looked in Christendom is Roman Catholicism deeply. There's another thing here. There's a bit of a assumption. This may somewhat address what Claire is talking about. I'm not as smart. We could say.
Off the rails, and so he's now considering Catholicism.
When he's talking about, um, when he's talking about,
I can't read as much as
there we go. This part right here.
I do not have. I can't read as much as he has read. I don't have enough time in my life to read what he's
At this stage, it's probably true.
read. I'm not as smart as he is. I'm not as articulated as he is.
That's very funny. It's going to pick on you for a minute, Paul. I'm going to pick on you for a minute, Paul. I'm not as articulated as he is. Articulate. I think that's the word we were looking for. I'm going to pick on it because it was an easy one, Paul. I had no choice.
But what attracts me to Rome.
Friends have to tease each other. All right. There's something built into that question that says, if you just read the right books, if you just have the right education, you listen to the right leaders, you will draw, if you have the right education, the right formation, you will draw the same conclusions as I have, as he has. Right? And we all know this is not true. We know this is not true. Universities are built on argument. There has to be another component, and this is I guess you could say this is addressing some of what Claire's talking about. We are called in Scripture the elect for a reason. Claire doesn't bother me. Are they getting deleted, Tile? Tell me if they are. We need to be gentle with our wrenches. Okay. But where was I? Where was I? Get distracted. We are called the elect in Scripture, and it's many Christians distort that into a view of selection as privilege. I don't see it that way. I see it as calling. There's no problem with history, no problem with education, with study. I admire it. I respect it. I take advantage of it every day. I love to hear from the specialists who really know really know their field well. But I guarantee you, the economist is not as fluent in theology, and the theologians aren't as fluent in philosophy or in biology, and the biologists may have no clue what the chemists are talking about half the time. Or certainly the physicists or the mathematician. It's great to learn from people who have deep knowledge. But in terms of spiritual guidance, it's no help without calling. Christians are called out. That's what it means to be a Christian, to be the elect. You're being called out. Called out to what purpose? To express God's love in the world. To be his body in space and time. But now here's where it's getting tricky for me, and this is where I'm going to struggle with Catholicism. And where if I give you the really honest, say I go through the catechism, because I'm not going to teach you, I can't teach you the catechism, but I could read it on the channel. And if I read it on the channel, you're going to be appalled at times. I don't have to teach. I just give you the words. And there'll be times some of you will be absolutely steaming, boiling, infuriated. You'll want to do nothing but argue. Because they have some very firm ideas. They've also found some ways to, I think, maintain their identity and yet, I say maintain it diplomatically. The elect are also those who respond. See, you're called out, but there's a call and response. I'm not choosing to deep dive on Catholicism because it's Apple. It's not the easy way out. I promise you, it's not the easy way out. It is culturally challenging for me. For some of you, it could be like, oh boy, this is the water I've been looking for my whole life. I don't know. There are times when I wake up and I read something, listen to something, think about something, the thought crosses my mind, and I go, ugh. But I have that response to all religious communities at some point in time. So I have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. It's not Apple, folks. It really is not Apple. Why is Claire? What did Claire? Is Claire still with us? I see. So you're still there. All right. I don't want people banned if we don't have to. Oh, you want a link? Let's send a link in. Invite guests. Oh, got to copy the link before I can paste it. Link. There's a link, Dio. Welcome. Come on in. Help me out. At first, when I heard this thing with Paul, I was a little bit like, huh? What are you doing to me here, buddy? And I'm like going, then I listened to more of the Nathan Jacobs thing. And I looked up some of Nathan Jacobs' history. And he's got receipts. He's bona fide, qualified to talk on some of this stuff. Mr. T.
Hello. How
are you doing? Good to see you. You sound great.
Good to see you too. And
I see your little avatar. I don't see you proper, but that's okay. I'm used to it now. You're just this little cartoon man in a circle.
Well, thank you first of all for taking us on this journey. We're learning as you're learning, hopefully.
Good. That's what it's for, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark Jackson's here too.
The reason I asked for the link is because I wanted some clarification. I felt a little bit defensive because PVK's sort of Apple analogy, which I did say when a tad overextended. I don't think it was unfair though, because part of the pitch that you gave, from what I heard at the beginning of this journey, was just the being tired of the everyone having an opinion of how things should be run in Protestant denominations, which sort of stagnate and as a sort of a ceiling to how much can be done and how quickly things can be done. And I don't think he's saying it's Apple in a bad way. And I was actually convinced by parts of the arguments you were making. I remember particularly in the live estuary with Sam, where Sam went off at you, and I thought, yeah, I still hold that against Sam a little bit.
I
God
still
forbid.
have his face. I'm going to have to clip it because he was just something. It provoked something from his past, or he was channeling
Yeah,
he was channeling some upset.
and
Poor
it was
guy. I
direct
feel bad for
anyway.
him. I shouldn't have done it to him.
Nonetheless, what the reason I brought up is because in that part of the case you were making for
Yes.
why Catholicism is I don't want to install 5 different apps every single time. There is a sense of, okay, this I want to submit to a trusted authority, and that's what I think is implying with the Apple analogy. It's not that it's easier. It's no one
Oh,
more than
okay.
you.
That's good. That's a good perspective on it that I really hadn't thought of. That
I'll quit.
clicks.
I will quit while I'm ahead.
No,
I
no,
am
no, no, no. Don't quit. Stay here, please. We like your company. No, that's very good. That's very good. That it's say that again so I get it right.
Oh, don't do this to me. It's never as good a second time. You know that. Something about it's not, or that it's easier. It's that I would
Reliable.
like a trusted authorities to submit to. That's not going to
Not
change.
perfect, but that's
Yeah.
that's one of the things is the idea that there is as a this is the church has a view of itself that of perfection, that it is in a sense, I'm sure they have a Latin word for it, but somehow inerrant in doctrine, and that's a hard one to swallow from a person with a Protestant modern background. And then part of me, I don't know how anyone can speak of anything that is present on planet Earth in these times that we live in, having, with the knowledge we have and seeing what we've seen in the last 100, 200 years, could possibly imagine that anything's perfect. The way I got around it was by, I came across John Henry Newman early on this exploration, and he has a view of it that I could align with, where he talks about the acorn and the oak tree. That there's a perfection at each stage. You could look at things are the way that they are supposed to be in the process of maturation, and it's in a sense, in its essence, there's perfection, even if it changes shape over time. And so yeah, there are lots of Catholic things that I struggled with. But on the other hand, there are just as many evangelical Protestant things I struggle with. But the guys come on, Mark and Tbilisi, Mark Jackson.
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. How are you?
All right,
Seem
all right.
down.
What you got to say?
I don't know about church. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. I don't know about churchy things. What I do know is I don't know how to put it into words, but give me a broad window, please. You're seeking guidance from God, which is higher than church. And so in some degree, church is kind of irrelevant because you're already looking higher and you've got that. And so in some respect, you could just pick any church. If it's communion you're looking for, which is more kind of horizontal than vertical, then go for it. But you've already got the vertical, and that's not nothing.
Yeah, no, it's not nothing. I like I said, there are many ways I'm looking for a place to house my treasure in heaven. But the
It's already housed in you.
yeah, here's the thing. There is and then I want to hear from Paul. There is I mentioned it in the discussion with Neil the other day that the church has a teaching, paragraph 795 in the Catechism, that the total Christ is Christ and the church, and that it is you. And then, as I quoted, I clipped a segment from Bishop Barron where he quotes Joan of Arc, and she says, Saint Joan, and she at her trial says, I know this, that Jesus Christ and the church are simply one thing. It's best not to complicate it or confuse it. That's a very vivid.
Can I quickly add?
I'm getting feedback.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
It's bad.
Check your background noise, something, or make sure your YouTube tab is muted.
Okay, I'll quickly add while Paul is checking stuff. Mark, I think you're searching for a body or bodies to share your love, and you're finding this process painful. But it's love. Just share it.
Better or worse?
We're still getting it. Somewhere in your system, my vocals are being duplicated.
Okay,
I'm on mute. It's not me.
All right, I'll jump on some other time when my audio.
It should be something pretty simple. Check a tab. Do you have YouTube open?
I closed the YouTube tab.
Then go to your settings if you have time. Yeah. You can go to settings in StreamYard and tap on the cog and audio, and then maybe check the box that says reduce mic background noise and echo cancellation. That might solve your problem.
So we get to share our love. Some people are going to reject it. That's okay, because we can't win them all. But we just share our love, and some people are going to be shitty, and that's okay. Just share your love. I'd love to know Teo's thoughts about this, because he appears to be quite good at that.
That's true. Tyo is good at that. Tyo.
Whoa, please don't put that on me. That's, oh gosh, Mark, that was, it's like the worst thing you can say to a Christian. I'm good at sharing. Wait, what? But thank you. the church is Christ's bride, and he really, really, really likes his bride. I never went through full deconstruction from the faith, but I did go through the usual deconstruction from the church. That, well, I say usual, but this is the other thing I was going to bring up, Mark, because I think you stumbled upon something very important in the bigger Christian revival conversation when you said that PVK is speaking from the perspective of someone that never left, and that might I get what you mean, and there's the point you were making specifically in that case was the fact that that sort of gives you a privilege, but also a blind spot to the different perspectives of the people that went on the journey. However, I think there's a lot that the people coming back have to learn from the people that never left, because you don't. The grace of God is such that you get to live multiple times with that if you so wish, and there's something to be learned about how to not leave.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's just the point I wanted to make in response to Mark's point about the church and learning to love out without the church.
Yeah, no question. See, did I ever really deconstruct? That's I don't think in properly speaking, I had about an 18-month period in my teens, 20, like early 20, late teens, so 19 to 21, give or take, there I kind of went crazy off the rails when I couldn't when my enlistment I had enlisted in the military and was medically discharged before I even got put on the uniform, and I went into a tailspin, but I was already dealing with the bipolar stuff, and I think that's when all the constraints were off for about, like I said, for about 18 months. So that was the closest I came to, you might call, deconstruction. In good old fashioned Southern Baptist terms, I backslid. I backslid with the devil.
That needs to come back into regular vocabulary, because I think that captures it mine a lot more than.
Yeah, and I think a lot of us have that in common, don't we?
Yeah, and also just the other thing I wanted to say, actually, learning from the people that never left, is just because they never left doesn't mean you didn't think about leaving. Or there weren't times where you packed your bag and stood in front of the door. And what we can learn from them is why they never did, because I think that's
And
important.
I would also say there have been various times when a materialist view simply is easier or makes more sense. You know, when the doubts are have a little more grip. But I have that seems to come and go, almost like I'm in the mood for pizza tonight. I mean, it's doubt of that nature. It's just, you can't not. It's almost like you can't control what goes through your head sometimes. You know, it's just like, oh, so I'm doubting more now. You know, or I'm just, boy, this really, if somebody else say something like, you don't really believe that, I'll kind of have to stop and say, think. It does sound really ludicrous, doesn't it? I'm appalled at my belief. I mean, this is silly. And there are times when, and then you see Christians behave a certain way, and you go, "Oh my gosh, this is silly. What am I doing with my life?" And then there are other times you come around, and it's very easy, right? It's very easy to kind of trust God and believe, and you know, a virgin was with child, and yeah, no big deal, right? It's just there are times when I've prayed with great faith, and I don't know where it came from. And times I praying and praying, I'm going, you don't believe anything you're saying, you hypocrite. But ever did I confessionally, align myself, with the new atheists and reject faith in God or something, or God or the idea. I don't know if I ever got, even as a Buddhist, I'm practicing Buddhism. But the great thing about Buddhism is it's all dukkha, right? It's all just, it's all suffering if you attach yourself to it. So the whole goal is to not attach. So you can kind of let these feelings and ideas come and go without any big deal, because it's all grist for the mill for Buddhism, for your Buddhist practice. So struggling with my Christianity as a Buddhist is easier than struggling with my Christianity as a Christian. It's true. It's like there are times when I'm going, having a Tony Soprano moment where he's, F me, you're just going to go on and feel like that. And it's like, it's harder being a Christian in church than it is being a Christian out of it sometimes. And I don't know why that's the case.
Because
Go on, Mark.
okay, this is going to upset everyone. Whatever.
You're really quiet, Mark. What's going on with the sound? Did it break it?
How about now?
Now you're
Much
good. Thank you.
Okay, my camera is very my microphone is very directional, fussy. So if I speak right into it, it's fine. It appears. I listen to Paul van der Klee a lot for various reasons, and sometimes that English guy, Glenn Scrivener, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Glenn Scrivener, yeah.
And both of them have this habit of making me feel like John the Baptist to their Pharisee.
Continue.
Okay, Mark gets what I'm saying. That's a good sign. Because I am in the wilderness on many levels.
Yeah.
And, as you guys know, I don't do church. But there is a certain necessity of organized religion to be Pharisee-like, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Continue.
I think that's it.
What's the Pharisee part for you? What does that mean to you?
The rigid structure, the doctrine, the necessity of rules.
Okay, let me throw something at you guys. Okay, I get it. Then this maybe goes to what Tile pointed out earlier, is the arbitrariness of the rulemaking within Protestantism. It actually is. It seems arbitrary. We pick and choose what we emphasize. We pick and choose what we focus our mind on. We pick and choose how we interpret passages of Scripture. There may be 6 different interpretations of a specific passage of Scripture, but I'm going to focus on the one that I was given, and that's the one that gets the yellow marker, highlighter, and the others are somehow lesser. And my wandering nature, my tendency is, Paul called me a long time ago. Paul called me a long time ago his border collie, his Australian shepherd, dog, the one that just wants to keep everybody together. Because there's a part of me that wants it all. I'm greedy. I want to hear all the perspectives, but I want them all mutually respected. So I want all the perspectives and I want them respected. And nobody does that, of course. I mean, there isn't a single religion that ever does it. And most people struggle with that, and I struggle with it too. I mean, there are limits to my, because I don't see everything I don't see everybody in the herd as a sheep. I see some of those bodies in there as potential wolves. And so my instinct is to keep together as much as I can keep together and to keep out the threats. Those are my instincts.
But can I use the word liberal in the old-fashioned sense of
Yes,
the meaning?
sure.
Would it be fair to say you are liberal in the old-fashioned sense, and you want to include everyone?
Yes. Yes, and that's
And what? Damn it! What's his name? Tom, the historian guy. Tom Holland. He said, I'm paraphrasing, but Islam is uniquely indigestible for a secular mindset, or something like that.
yes. He said that on trigonometry. Yeah.
I disagree with him on that, but yeah.
I'm not fighting his cause. It's a curious idea that there are some things that just cannot sit with a liberal mindset.
No question.
And are you wrestling with this now, Mark?
I will before. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, that's one of the concerns I'm having is I've not really, nobody, I think my left of center friends have gone quiet since I've picked up the pseudo-Catholic label. So I don't know what that's about.
I'm still here.
You showed up. You did. But I'm concerned about my trans friends. I'm concerned about my gay friends. I don't want them to think for a minute I've forgotten them, and that I don't, because I think some people will look at this move and say, if he takes the dive, it's going to be, yes, we've scored one, we've saved one from the woke demons, and that's not what this is about. And if the same-sex question never comes up in a discussion, my attitude is like, well, if you want a Catholic marriage, you got to have these components. 1, 2, 3, right? And if you want a state marriage, there's the law, and you go down to City Hall, and that's how you get it. And and it turns out that within Catholicism actually is really weird and interesting. It's so nuanced, but far more nuanced on subjects like marriage than you could ever imagine. So we don't know where it's going to land on the issue of same-sex marriage. Now, there are some Catholics out there who'll be pounding the table saying, absolutely not. This is firm, unquestionable doctrine.
Would that how big of a
don't be surprised.
How big of a difference would that make to your? This is quite an unfair question, but I'm going to ask it.
Ask it. It's fine.
How big of an impact is the same-sex marriage question? So if there was,
it makes no difference at all for me.
That's why.
Because it makes no difference at all. Because the question is not, for me, this is a unity play. It's not a. This is the thing that's got to be very. It's why I entered it and what I have to keep reminding myself, because I have a kind of obsessive compulsive side to me that could get really into dogma and drawing of lines, and because I enjoy categories, right? And if I got into my head, this is the right way to be, and I could really obsess on that and savor the excluding and the including and the picking and the choosing. But I don't see it like that. I mean, I didn't enter it with that intention, and I'm trying to not let that side of me take over, because if were I to cross the line, and I would probably make my patron saint John Henry Newman, because it's, his to be human is to change, and to be perfect is to change much or change often. I can grok that. That's almost like it is bumper sticker material, no question, and it's more sophisticated than that. But it is a kind of, it's what makes the church best. I mean, so much of what you see in the Catholic Church today is a product of the conflict with the Protestants. They had no catechism. They had no formal catechism that was of the kind that we think of when we see catechism, until the Protestants started generating these things. It's really interesting. Until Council of Trent. That's the first catechism of the kind that we think of as a catechism, and that was established from the Vatican and universal for the whole church. That was news to me when I discovered that. I went, huh? And then you start going through the various, doctrine developed, but so much of all the essentials of Catholicism that are controversial and definitive in terms of the shape and formation of the church almost always come out of conflict. They never make a hard decision, until their hand is forced, in a sense, which makes it fascinating as an organization. It's like they're very reticent of drawing a hard line until, somebody puts a gun to their head, and then they'll say, okay, we're going to draw this line.
It seems that's one of the features of the Catholic Church that PBK admires. They're slow to, and I think he thinks that's why they've lasted so long, is they are slow to change, and they allowed the Protestants to go run the experiment and see how many of your churches survive.
That's
after
true.
going this way or that way, and then 200
Maybe
years
that's,
later.
yeah. I'd say I didn't know. See, it's hard. I don't know how much of the Catholic Church Paul admires, because it feels like right now it's like not a lot.
Well, he's certainly not going to be Catholic anytime soon. Probably there's a lot of old Protestants. It's funny from my perspective, it's funny when I say Paul's Protestants defense mode activated, because it's hardly ever activated. But yeah, it can be with some Catholic topics for sure. But I think there is at least even is a Calvinist. It's all working for the glory of God. And I think the longevity of the Catholic Church, part of it is how slow they are to change, from what I can tell from
And I really, really admire that. And I can, so their view on same-sex marriage can be what it is for the next 500 years, and I'll not worry about it, because it's not my problem. See, I'm not coming into this to change anybody. I didn't come into any Protestant church to change them.
And to go back, and that's why the Apple analogy was apropos, is You're not going into the software to change anything. With Protestantism, you're almost forced to, because at some point, if you go up the ladder, you're an elder, and now you're in church meetings and conversations are being had, and you have thoughts.
Look at you being a bridge builder. You're so good at this. Yes, I agree. No, you're right. You're right. You translated Paul for me, because I was struggling. Because my first instinct was to look at this and go, they think I'm taking the easy way out. And I'm going, all right, I got words for you. I'm not going to say them in public.
I giggled out loud when Paul was making the comment about you not being as articulate and as well read, and I was like,
That was sweet irony. Sweet irony.
uh,
I am not flexible. My back
if
is
you're
stiff and it hurts.
if you're not articulate, then there's no what the rest of us have in this corner. Because I'll put it up there as one of our best in terms of getting your thoughts out and
Oh,
presenting
geez.
them.
I stutter too much, but thank you. I do stutter. I stutter mostly because I don't want to screw up and say something really stupid. I'd rather say something stupid slowly than say it fast. But
slow and steady to get to the stupid.
exactly. Might as well enjoy the scenery while we're at it. No, it's like, yeah, the reading of books and the this and that. I'm like going, what? That was a struggle, but you did help me with that. I think that's good. You're right. Because I am not going into, I'm not trying to change. I do not want to change anybody's software. I'm deep diving this. I don't know why I'm deep diving. I feel I'm in it because I feel called to it. And there's an opportunity. See, it's like, if I'd had the dream.
I love that you use the language of calling. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine.
I really, really enjoy that. That was a big part of my enchanted childhood in Nigeria. Was there's a calling on your life, that language.
The thing that I kind of am concerned and I feel already wistful about is the I don't know. I don't want to lose touch with these people, the Otis Lesters, these little, you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh, yeah.
It's not Catholic. And in fact, I tried to delve into Mary Healy some. That she's huge charismatic Catholic. And there is a straightness and formality about her that I just find repellent. She's super educated, super articulate. She's a full-blown theologian. I mean, she's serious business. She is the Nathan Jacobs of Roman Catholicism times 2.
Is she likely to burst into a spontaneous song and or prayer?
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't looked into it enough, but she's so square, man. It's because a part of you got to remember my background. I mean, the thing that really lit me up as a Christian more than anything else was John Wimber. He's a Quaker turned Pentecostal. And I can't, there's something almost, I don't want that part of me to die or lose that relationship, because but on the other hand, Catholic theology really makes it hard to integrate. I mean, I've yet to see, maybe if I just stay with it for another 5 years and I master it reasonably well, not that I'll ever master Aquinas, but if I get it, if I really understand it enough, maybe I'll see it and be able, because there are Catholics that have no problem with John Wimber. There are lots of Protestants who hate John Wimber. So it's not like hating John Wimber is unique to anyone. And in fact, the Catholics don't hate anybody. They barely think about him. If anybody, my guess is there probably aren't 100 Catholics on any given day who give a second thought about John Wimber out of the 1 billion plus Catholics.
You're not the first Pentecostal we've lost to the Catholic. I'm sure there are a few that remember, oh yeah, when I was a Pentecostal, this guy was important. But yeah,
Work Ron,
right.
What you got going?
So I think you will never lose the hillbilly that is ingrained in you. Like you're natural to it. Like No, you can't. Once you've been hillbilly, it never leaves you, and that's good. And that's so don't worry about that. And I've actually been around Dr. Mary Healy enough to know she's not. She is not starchy, and you would actually, once you got to know her, you'd like her. So, there's one thing about paper. It's different when you meet her. And I've met her, and I know the people she hangs out with, and you would probably enjoy her company quite a bit. Just saying.
I'm sure she's a lovely lady.
What
I'm
was-
just
what-
No, I meant, but I meant theologically. Even
yeah.
she's not. She is actually a bridge builder. She hangs out with a guy named Randy Clark, and you've read it. He is charismatic, like to the nth degree, and they're buddies, they're friends. So don't let the paper fool you.
I
There's
have
a
a
lot
big
of
problem with
wiggle room.
Pentecostals too, though. I mean, I'm not saying I don't have problems with Pentecostals. I mean, it's the stage Pentecostalism, the stuff that's I mean, some of that stuff that it's the TV stuff and this. Well, it's not TV so much anymore. It's YouTube Pentecostalism makes me crazy. But I mean, people make me crazy. There are times when I love everybody, and there are times when I just cannot stand to be in the room with any of you people. Don't take it personal, but it's just like there was Paul. Yes, Paul clipped. He was responding to the fact that he got this huge response, a Muslim response to a short he posted, right? And he clipped out a teacher who's gesticulating in his teachings very enthusiastically. And I'm like going, dude, can you say that again? I couldn't hear you. He's yelling so loud, right? And that was I find people repellent all the time.
Clip
But
it.
that's your nature.
That's our nature.
Yeah, and
No,
I'm sure
true.
I'm
That's
repellent
true.
all the time.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
So
so it's like acknowledge, move on. Yes.
Yeah, but I like when you're repellent. I like when we're repellent together. That's just the best fun. So
It's like
this
don't talk to me about your politics, Ron Copperman, because I just sometimes I'm like,
Can I
but
just
like
say
you said, we
again,
get
Mark?
together. It's okay. We can. It's like
No,
Mark,
I
can
gotta
say
go, but I
again?
just had to jump on.
it's good to see you.
It's great seeing you guys. Bye, guys.
Ciao.
Bye.
Mark Jackson.
I'll say again, Mark. You have more love in you than you know what to do with. That's your problem. It's not a bad problem to have. Okay?
Okay.
Where do I?
I will hold that. I'll take that. I don't know if I believe it, but I'll take it. Thank you. I appreciate it. I do what I can.
I say what is.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it very much. How's your lovely family doing, by the way?
Say again?
How is your lovely family doing, by the way?
We're doing well. The children are in bed in theory.
They're on the Georgian clock, man. You guys don't wind down until after midnight. It's a party country. I love it.
It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so
Oh, that's a big
she's not
deal.
going to sleep well.
That's a big deal. How sweet.
She'll be
How old
10.
is she turning? Oh, that's a big one. That's
That
a
is a
big
big one.
Happy birthday.
That
Thank
is
you.
awesome. Yes, that is greatest achievement, my friend, is your family. You've got a beautiful one, and you should be very proud of
Agreed.
them all.
And in a far
They're
second,
pretty impressive.
that beard is not close, but it's
The
in
beard
second
is
place.
the beard is good. The beard is. I don't know how you stand it, but
The beard's
yours is very
annoying.
controlled. It just flows. You don't have. I have control issues. It's like my personality. It veers this way and that way, and then wake up one day. I thought I have it in control, and you mean I walked around like this for a month? I mean,
I can't resist stroking it.
It's
maybe
That
that's.
might help.
too.
Do you condition? Or do you just go on natural?
I've been told to put bearded oil on it, which I do
It's probably
rarely. I've been told to do it every day, but it's not happening. Anyway,
very good.
yeah.
Very,
So
very good.
yeah, we're good. We're all fine here. Iran hasn't lobbed any missiles into Georgia that I'm aware of yet. So yay.
Hopefully, they don't have a reason to.
Well,
Who are doing
the
so
Georgian
well.
government is,
Are they letting U.S. fly over?
I don't know, but whilst they're not popular, unlike every other government on the planet,
Yeah.
they have been kind of sucking up to Iran. So I think Iran is sparing us.
You are too close. I didn't even think of Georgia. I mean, now you pointed out.
I could walk to Iran in a few days.
Yeah, you could. Good Lord, have mercy. Truly.
Everything's been okay so far. I haven't felt any vibrations.
Well, I think the way I see it is this war either ends in the next few weeks or it lasts for a few years, because I don't see how. Although Middle East wars rarely go long, and just as I said that, there is the exception that proves a rule, like the Iran-Iraq war, which persisted for many years. And then the Syrian civil war, it lasted for a very long time. But the wars where you have a dominant power against less dominant, they tend to go short. But I don't think the Americans have or the Israelis have the dominance that they don't have the preponderance of power that they require. And I think we're learning that. They entered this thinking they owned it, and we clearly don't. We clearly don't.
You may be right. I'm not in a geological position where I can comment too much on it.
Sure.
If it doesn't end in the next few weeks, there's going to be a global food shortage by the end of the year. And so I recommend people prepare for that.
Yeah. Yep. In the United States, it's prepare for price hikes. You're going to have some shortages of this or that, but just prepare for it to be a lot more expensive. If you live in a country that doesn't produce all of its own food, or is vulnerable to global supply chains,
Teo, that's
stock
you,
up.
by the way.
Stock up. Yeah, stock up.
Yes, it is.
Find certain things that you can live with. Like if you like beans, dried beans. If you like rice, some rice. But you need protein, so find your protein source.
Dry food. Stock up on dry food.
Dry and canned, and then make sure you keep the bugs out. So if you got flour, keep in the freezer if you can. Rice, maybe. I don't know about rice. I don't know how rice does.
Rice stores really well.
Good. And then, but it's. I think Donald Trump is in love with a booming stock market, and I think the longer this thing goes, the more it's going to hurt the market. So,
well,
he'll find a way.
On that optimistic note, thank you and God bless.
Yeah, well, how did we get off on this?
Love you, Teo.
We drove Tayo away with foolish politics and economics. Sorry, Tayo. Come back, Tayo. We'll talk only about God. Let's only talk about God. The news is horrible. Paul Allen.
Once there was a man,
So
And he
say
lived to sing
You're
a
sounding good.
lion
No echo.
song.
I'm sounding good. Okay, I got my headphones to work. I have
Awesome.
nothing to say on Iran just because
None
there's
of us
something
really
I
do,
just
so
don't
don't
want to
worry
talk
about it.
about.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Pat Benatar. Paul Van der Klee is a Pat Benatar fan, apparently. And there's a reason for this, because I don't know who writes her lyrics, but she manages to get away with singing Christian rock without anyone noticing it's Christian rock. So, for example, she has a song, I don't know what it's called, but the opening line is, "Once there was a man, and he lived to sing a lion song." It's like, who's she talking about? Who do you think she's talking about?
I don't know. But you're right.
Maybe Christ?
I think she's kind of come out as, I don't know if she's come out with her faith entirely, but I think there's a story there.
I don't know if she wrote her song.
Let me hear okay, Paul Allen, I don't know how much time you got, so why don't you come on and don't you tell us what you want to talk about? You were responding. Well, you're a Catholic, right? So you have
Yes,
some
yeah.
advice for me. You probably have some good advice for me.
I have advice for you. I would say that I'm happy to answer questions, but no, I think the conversation about Christ being in the church and in the church, I'm jumping back like a half hour in this conversation, so
Sure.
sorry about
No worries.
There's a necessity, and the question is, do you think the church is necessary to the gospel? And
Right.
I think the Catholic view is that the institutionalization and the church itself is part of what Christ was intending to do throughout his ministry, and how he went about things, how he gathered his followers, how he formed his followers, how he sent his followers off and brought them back, and then how he instituted the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, and then instituted baptism, but also is like forgiveness of sin is really central in it comes up multiple times throughout the Gospels. And so there are all these things which are communal. You don't do Christianity off on your own. And so I guess the first question is church essential for Christianity and for living the gospel? And I think there's a yes there. And then I think the case for the Catholic Church is where and then there's a unity in the body of Christ. And I think the continuity of Christ's work in the world, or the body of Christ, is communal. And so, and then people are going to say, okay, which church? And then I would say, all right, something that's united. And this is where, like, the Protestants, and this is where it gets a little iffy for me, because, like, I think the Protestants are generally in the church, and they're separated within the church, but there isn't two churches out there. There's just one church, and we're moving, and it's a scandal that there are these separations within the church. And the goal, it's healing is to reconcile those things, or find ways of reconciliation, and that's, yeah, and to heal the separations. And that's not, part of that's arguing about theology, but part of that is just living communally. Anyway, so that was my biggest side on, I think one needs to land in a church. I think the Catholic Church has this Catholic Universal United vision implicit in it. And that's, if you're homeless, that's a reason to find a home there. But I'm not big on, okay, leave your functioning Lutheran community and come join a Catholic parish. I'd be more like in line with, find ways that we can find greater union within all these communities.
Yeah.
That's probably, I mean, I would say there's a good third of Catholics who have this sort of a view. There's others that don't.
Well, it seems like, yeah, most Catholics are pretty gentle these days about their Catholicism. I mean, you have some fire breathers out there, like you do in all the denominations and all religions, right? And non-religions, right? I mean, they're fire-breathing atheists. I mean, who has an excuse? Why on earth would you be a fire-breathing atheist, yet they're out there, right?
Yeah.
People who really want to save you from your belief in God, and they're just people who really want to save you from being a Baptist or save you from being a Catholic. I would say that last category, that was pretty common growing up. I knew a lot of people who part of their testimony was being saved from their Catholic upbringing. Very reactionary. And I've because Bishop Barron is of my age cohort. He remembers it. He'll talk sometimes and recollect about that period when they felt really threatened by the Jesus People movement, and that it had a real grip and appeal in the culture during the 80s and 90s even. People felt threatened, 70s even, felt threatened by the evangelical explosion. And after about the 101st major scandal within evangelicalism, Catholicism starts to look pretty good again to folks, so they don't feel so threatened anymore. But what to do? But most Catholics that I know, my only point is that most Catholics I know are like, talk like you do, and at least towards other Christians. You're not trying to save Lutherans from Luther, and that's good.
I think there's. I mean, I think things can get stale within if you're not proactive within your Christian community and you expect it to just happen to you. I think you can get stale within your tradition, regardless of where that tradition is.
Yeah.
And it's stepping out of the unfamiliarity, the surprise that says, oh, I never experienced that in my tradition, and now I'm experiencing it over here, like Pentecostal or whatever. And then you can come, but then there's this weird thing where, well, people are probably having that same. The Catholic Church is so large that there's a lot to be had of whatever people left. I'm just repeating Neil's argument from the other day. It's probably in there, and the fact that you didn't experience it was sort of a not looking thing. Not to say that there aren't real differences.
I was going to share this, but I'm not sure if it's queued up right. Let me back out. It was a pretty funny line. No, go. You can keep talking. I was going to play a
Oh,
clip.
I'm sorry. I was like
It was my
waiting
fault.
for the.
I think it glitched on me because it didn't. What it did was it went to the broader. Here we go. Now I can share it. It's kind of funny.
So go on YouTube and look up preachers that you admire. You know, look, Jimmy Swaggart, he got in trouble later in his life, but Jimmy was an outstanding preacher. I learned a lot from watching him. Not that I preached like him really, but I learned a lot from him. Billy Graham, marvelous to watch, and I learned a lot from him. So I'd say the church fathers, and then get on.
This is him giving advice to young Catholic priests and learn how to preach. And these are the people he pulled up, which just cracked me up. I mean, it's rarely do I hear Protestants pointing to Catholics in this way. And in fact, I would, as a Protestant, I wouldn't recommend going to Jimmy Swaggart. That's the funny thing is so he's a pretty open-minded guy in spite of he is very straight-laced, but he's open-minded in ways that pretty impressive, that you can appreciate. He has an intellectual objectivity that allows him to appreciate Jimmy's preaching and can kind of look past the prostitute scandals and whatnot and the griftiness, but he can preach. I found that amusing.
There's a certain set of temptations that come along with being a very good preacher. I've seen it among
true.
Catholic priests too.
Yeah.
So
because you're attractive to people by your nature and your talents. Yeah. Yeah.
people, I think it draws people into a trust relationship with you. And it's very difficult to have a lot of strangers immediately in a trust relationship with you and never have temptations from that. So
Yeah. There's
what are your questions, Mark? Or if you don't want to do questions today, that's fine. I just had some time. So.
Oh, I don't know. Do I have many questions right now? It's more of it's a do I have any specific questions? Not at the moment. Do I have? Nothing that I can't chase down on my own at this point. It's I was like I told Neil the other day. I had a pretty long conversation with him about this. And
I watched about half of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I saw.
It was a great conversation, Mark.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was.
Neil's good at that.
Yeah, he is. He's very good. But like I told him, I said, I lost my train of thought. It was something he had said. We'd said back and forth together, and I came up with something that I don't remember. It's fallen out of my brain. The Catholics are really good at branding, but terrible at sales. They just don't market themselves well for the decision process. They almost like by intent. They don't make it easy or obvious. It's that, which fine.
When I was in grad school, I think for like a year I ran the sort of the discernment, like people just coming in, they weren't yet in RCIA, but they were trying to discern in. So basically we did an hour meeting every Sunday and people would come and they would ask whatever questions they had. And then if no one had questions, we just go through the gospel and discuss the gospel for the week. And that was, but I think because it wasn't a university environment and you had a lot of people intentionally trying to figure these things out at that time of life, it was more structured in that way. So I've proposed, I've told my current parish, hey, I'm happy to run an inquiry group if that's what you want to do. And I think most people are not really that. I think most of the pastors have enough going that they don't want to run a specific inquiry group. And if people want to sign up, they've already either made their decision or they've done their own research and they just want to get in the program. But
Yeah. I really enjoy playing. The problem is I enjoy the ideas too much. And I think my experience with groups like that are people aren't ready. Sometimes it's not that their questions are different than my questions. Most people have real practical questions, and I'll get off on something like the Eucharist, and the real presence, and want to do a deep dive. Like Paul PVK directed me to a book and to the author who he interviewed a couple times, specifically Brett Salkeld. Wrote a book, he's a Catholic theologian, wrote a book on the Eucharist, and one of the main arguments in the book had to do with Calvin and Aquinas more or less arrived at the same view of the Eucharist and the real presence, independent of one another, which I went, huh? Interesting. And so then in a little side chat, I said, so Paul, how many Calvinist preachers, how many CRC pastors is that news to? Would they agree? And then I said, I also asked, what's the experience of the Eucharist for the typical CRC member in the pew compared to the Roman Catholic? And Paul switched from philosophical Paul to a real short kind of, it's just real practical. It's just, are they feeling Jesus? It went real, it's like, we've got a whole book here to work with. And we're going to switch to that. And it was so strange. But that's because if you do the deep dive, it will start dividing people. And that's the problem. You can't go deep on a subject like that and not rattle cages.
it's so how you think about the Eucharist is really dependent on your metaphysics. It's so like the words you will use depend on the words you use in your metaphysics, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I think because we have this Aristotelian Thomist metaphysics, we use Aristotelian Thomistic
yes, you do. Yeah.
language.
Yeah.
But I think the Eucharist is the same question as you had about the Church and Christ being the same.
Very much. They're very much together. Those two subjects. Yes.
And so we come together in the eternal moment of the sacrifice, to participate in the eternal moment of the sacrifice. And then we receive Christ, each of us, and as a community, as the body of Christ, we receive the body of Christ. And then we are the tabernacles that then take Christ into the world.
But this is the thing. This is why this topic is so hot. What you just described, the language you used, the imagery and so on, is what the Protestants threw over. That's the baby in the bathwater the Protestants ditched from day one, practically. And a Protestant walks in and hears the sacrifice of the Mass, and you're just, the first time you hear it, you go, what? I mean, there's just, it doesn't even compute. What are we talking about? And then when you start, let's see, if you reframe it and say the sacrifice, think of the sacrifice of the Mass in science fiction terminology. It starts to almost make sense. It's time traveling. Yes, I can time travel. Instead of hanging each other or burning each other at the stake, it's suddenly it's like, oh, but it's hard to get there. You nodded. I think it seems like you get what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and so I'm gonna go into some hot water. And when somebody says it's only a symbol, if you have a strong
huge Catholic trigger, people don't use this. Don't say symbol or a priest. Go ahead.
If you have a strong sense of symbol and symbolism, and if a symbol is a bringing to present a reality, it's like, it is symbolic and it's embodied. It's a real symbol,
Embrace the oxymoron. Yes.
But I think that's where Peugeot, he gets it. If you have this very Peugeotian view of symbols as like
they're real,
these things are deeply real. They say more about the essence.
Yeah, but
of
I
the
think he's fudging. I've listened to a lot of Peugeot because of PVK. And I think he's fudging it. I like the most appealing thing about Catholic theology on these points is the reality of it. The presence is the presence. Now, when they take pictures, make a show out of it. Like I was looking at something, a thumbnail or something, some like PR type of thing, and it was a very nice, beautiful, cinematic type of photograph of a priest holding up, the Eucharist, the implement. Is meant to be very evocative emotionally, and I'm like going, that's a turnoff. Don't do that.
I tend to I have issues with photographing
It seemed it's something. Maybe that's the Spirit of God that I'm not even aware of is going. That's something in me did not sit right at that image.
And I think there are masses that I've participated in very simple settings, which are very reverent and quiet. And so we did something like in the backwoods of El Salvador when I went on pilgrimage there. And it wasn't flashy, but it was the eternal communal act. Yeah, exactly, Marcus. Real
It's-
simple sacrifice.
But there is but because of the history, it's a this topic divides in a way that it's in the same way that politics divides. We better just not. It's best we just not talk about it too much. Between sides, in a
Why do you
even
think
in a
it
place like the corner.
divides?
Say again.
Because it's the concern is idolatry.
Some of that language will manifest, but it's also exclusive because where else are you going to get it? See, if you don't believe in the real presence in the way that we're talking about in the Mass, the sacrifice of the Mass, where else are you going to get it except in a Catholic church?
We're an Orthodox church. We represent we
Depends.
We
Depends. They
recognize
see it
the
in the
validity.
liturgy, I guess, but yeah.
we recognize the validity of the
Yeah, they do. Yeah, you do.
liturgy.
I think Mark wanted to come in. Did you have something,
Sorry,
Mark?
Mark. I'll stop talking.
No, you're great. Thank you.
No, it's cool. You guys are doing your thing. You mentioned Pajot, and as everyone probably knows, I'm a big Pajot fan. Both the brothers. Well, there's three of them, but one of them
One of
we're
them
not
is silent.
acquainted with. Anyway, well, apparently he's a priest, and he's the eldest brother, and so he
interesting.
kind of led them in a certain direction after being a skateboarding star. But anyway,
Huh.
there are certain things that Pajot says, and I'm like, dude, you're using a shoehorn to try and explain this. And I'm like, if you need to use a shoehorn to explain a story, you've probably got it wrong. And I'll give you an example. So, Garden of Eden, there's a snake appears out of nowhere. Let's say the snake is a representation of a phallus. You good with that word?
It can be. It can be. It's not necessarily, but we can go with it. Go for it.
I'm not denying all the other
Yeah. It can be many things, but go
interpretations.
for it.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying, look, if the snake is a phallus, the idea as a young man that a phallus doesn't talk to you is crazy. Of course it bloody speaks. And it speaks loudly. And so Eve, here's the phallus speaking to her. And she says to Adam, take a bite of my apple. Now, in modern American speak, this would be, here's my cherry. Yeah? It's fruit. She gives him her fruit. And then the next day, God's like, what? And I think this is the first joke in the Bible. Because according to my wife, if you place fig leaves on your skin, you'll very quickly get a rash. And they covered themselves in fig leaves. And so that's not going to work out well. But that's the next day. They're like, fig leaves. And then God is like, you took a bite of the apple, the cherry. He's not happy.
You need to start going to church and become the 5th grade Sunday school teacher with that story. The kids would love you. The parents would hate you, but that's okay.
Yeah, the kids would enjoy it.
Yeah, the kids would get a kick out of it.
Yeah, so God's like, you took a bite out of her apple and it was too early. Just like.
And God comes into God enters
Okay,
the garden.
you're gonna have
going, children.
Oh, birth.
Yeah. Oh,
And
you've
you're
been
out of the
naughty.
garden.
You've been
And it's
naughty.
like, that's really simple interpretation. Doesn't
Yeah.
need a shoehorn.
It's
So
not bad.
I'm
That's
really
not bad.
against shoehorn interpretation.
Well, but there are lots of ways to work that one, but that's not bad. That's very good. Very good. I like it. I don't know if I don't know if it's the right one or not, but it's a good one. I'm not in charge of
It's
deciding
simple.
which is the right interpretation, but
There may be,
multiple.
maybe they're all right.
It's very good.
And I'm
It's
good with that.
good
I'm very
allegory.
good with Pageau's interpretations. I think they're interesting.
Mhm.
But for me, this is the most simple one. No shoehorn needed.
It's true. True. Well, gentlemen, it's almost been 2 hours, hour and 45. Any other thoughts? Any advice? Am I too sensitive to, Mark keeps telling me in his comments is to stop worrying about looking stupid. I think he said that.
I said that once.
Oh, you've hinted at it on other times too, though. You always like to preach at
No.
me.
I said that once.
Oh, okay.
I only
All
have
right.
that thought once.
You're very
Sorry,
didactic. You have a very didactic tone in your
I just got to
your
say, Open
comments.
Source 888 in the comments just said it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, which just cracked me up.
That would be two snakes in the garden. The second, they don't start talking about more than one snake until we get out of the garden.
So I guess I have two things to say. One, it's intentional that Christ spoke almost exclusively in parables. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You're quiet for me.
All right, I lost one of my things, so hopefully this comes through. So, all right, so I think the parables are intentionally nuts to crack. That are things which we are supposed to sit with and interpret, and I think there's reason why the scripture is full of things that aren't entirely clear, things that we're supposed to wrestle with, because in the wrestling we come to know more than just being told. In my sense is that's all intentional. And maybe that flows into it's resting in the mystery and then resting in the changing interpretations, because we're intended to wrestle with these. Not having it right now doesn't mean that we don't understand. It's that we're going through the formational process of wrestling with the thing. But I agree with all your comments on PVK earlier, and he's having his own wrestling match with the CRC, and I wish there was a way for the larger church Church Universal, we'll call it, to infuse some life into some of these struggling denominations, which are just struggling, and help them through what's happening. But I don't. Yeah, is what it is.
Well, and there's a tendency.
Amen.
Yeah, they would do well to learn from the Catholic Church, in the way that, as I was saying earlier, as well as with Neil, is it's glacial at times. I mean, when it makes a decision, it makes a decision, and it sits for a long time. But in terms of changing, adapting, modifying its decisions, it's glacial. very slow, very methodical, very slow to judge, and generous. I mean, that's Pope Francis got himself into trouble for blessing people that some Catholics thought he shouldn't. But I see this. You could find the same thing in other popes before him. These guys, priests and bishops, they all, from what I can tell, I mean, I'm sure they're bad eggs in the basket, but the ones that I have noticed the most is they love to bless people. They can't wait to bless people. One of their favorite things to do. And
Mark, what's your favorite thing to do as well?
well,
Just
I
do it
appreciate
more.
it. I appreciate it. I enjoy. It's what we're here for. It seems to me, and it's in the Protestant's instinct. That impulse, that reforming impulse, is move. We've got a problem. We got to solve it. I've been around it my whole life. I know it well. It's in my DNA, and there is an instinct to. I hate to sit with problems too long. I want to fix it and fix it fast, even if that hurts. I'd rather hurt with a big move, but and get it done. But I'm learning the benefit of being slow. Why, and I think PVK has that instinct. I remember at one point, after they had made a decision they'd started drawing hard lines around same-sex marriage and whatnot in the CRC, and churches started picking and choosing which side they were going to be on, leave or stay or whatever. He suggested a kind of parallel denomination, so they'd move together, keep certain institutions together, like the retirement fund, and find a way of communicating back and forth and respect each other's ordinations and so on. I don't think he ever got any traction with the young Turks that are now in charge, but I think that's a more cautious approach. It's a pastoral. PVK is a natural pastor. I think it's what he's best at. That's who he is in his marrow, and that's what's best in the Catholic Church. It's pastoral and it's instinct. It's one of the things that I struggle with is where's the pure. There's a part of me that's holiness, right? That's because that's in my background as well. That is like we need to be pure, move forward, and we need to look a certain way and be a certain way and act a certain way in the world. We need to be salt and light. The Catholic Church is a little fuzzy. I mean, it's like it takes all comers, and it's very slow to refuse the Eucharist. So you see people, but that's its benefit, and that's part of the dream that brought me when I said the first dream I had, or the dream that kind of got me initiated on this process was there's J.D. Vance and Candace Owens. They're both Catholics. I'm like going, man, I have nothing in common with these people, but there's something beautiful in the fact that there is a priest at the front of the altar ready to give someone like me and someone like them the Eucharist in the same service, same blessing, same, all I need to do is I need to seal the deal, right, and get it myself. But there are people like me, leftist, progressive, whatever you want to call us, who find every word from Candace Owens' mouth to be just a obscenity before God. But that there's someone there going, the body of Christ, receive. It's just beautiful. I mean, it's just beautiful that it's just like, and that, I don't want to say shame on the Protestants for throwing that away, but it's like, it's something we need to correct. So even if I don't cross the line and become a Catholic, this process is going to make me much more aware, much better educated about the body of Christ in the world, and to respect it more.
Okay, third time saying it, Mark. And I'm not kidding on this. You have a lot of love to give. You're trying to work out where to give it, and I don't think. I mean, you're an old school liberal, so you're fairly flexible on where to give your love anyway. But it still seems to me you have some kind of problem with this, and it's just like, give your love, just give it.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. Crosby, Stills, and Nash.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Old hippie.
Although I didn't like I love the one you with.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the song that came to my mind when you're talking about it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that
It
song.
was a little flaky. Yeah, they don't even like it. They didn't even like it after they made it. But later on, down the road, they stopped
I
playing
didn't
it.
know that.
Oh yeah, it's just there's a clip somewhere where one of them's talking about it. It's like, we don't even like singing it anymore. It's gross.
not sure
It's a little
about
gross. Paul Allen, any last words? Thank you for my therapy time, guys. I appreciate it. All very helpful.
Love you,
If
man.
you do have if you do want to just do like hard questions at some point, I mean, I know you can do that with what's his name? Yeah, there's a few people in the corner.
Yeah, there's a bunch of people. Neil's one, and you're
Neil's
one. Yeah,
one.
no, it's going to be impromptu if you have time and you got. I mean, this is all helpful though. I mean, you come in and you say. I mean, it's just because it's hard to come up with say a list of questions because I don't really have a list.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm in the moment, and I'm standing there, I probably should start writing some of them down, but it feels weird to pull out something during mass and like start taking notes.
Are you going to mass every Sunday?
I need to start going to the morning ones in the middle of the week, at least a few times a week to try to get I needed to be intuitive, and everything's so. Nobody has anything in front of them. Very rarely do you see anybody reading from a book, following the liturgy. They're all doing it from muscle memory because obviously these people they grew up in it, and I'm like.
Sometimes there's an order of the mass. There's if you ask one of the ushers, depending on your church, they may have a booklet somewhere.
They have them in the pews in front of and with the hymnal.
Okay. All right.
And it's based on the date, right? I mean, it's like a calendar, and you open up the date, and you got the readings in front of you, and then, yeah, no, it's there.
Generally,
took me a couple weeks to find it, but it's there.
Generally, in the front, they'll have all the other parts that are the same every week.
Oh, okay. But other people are doing it by memory. I mean, they just know it. I'm like,
yeah.
And it's like I thought I knew the Nicene Creed, and I realized no, I don't know the Nicene Creed. Not in the way that it just rolls off the tongue. I realized no, I'm familiar with the Nicene Creed in parts because it was not something that was ever recited in any of the churches. Well, I spent some time with Lutherans, and they would recite it. When my wife and I were in Indiana, we ended up parking ourselves at a Lutheran church, and so it was. But even then, it's just like for some reason it didn't stick because it's like. I mean, these people they're right on it. They know all the parts. And they know when and then they know that everybody's familiar. Like the what do you call the person who leads things? The cantor, or is a liturgist?
The cantor. The cantor is generally the musician if they're singing.
Oh, okay. So the people leading it, and she'll make a gesture, but most of the time the gesture is wasted on the people because the people all know when they're supposed to do their part. And the people like me and going, I don't know my part, much less when I'm supposed to come in. It's not muscle memory, and it needs to become. I don't think I'm going to get it until it is. And that's what I'm telling. Because I'm like going through parts of this. I'm going. There's a Protestant side of me wanting to do that flickers on and off. Do I believe this? Doesn't matter. Do I believe this? It doesn't matter. Don't worry. part of me wants to judge elements of the service as I go through it, or anything in this, in the doctrine or the catechism or what have you. And I've got to, this is very Buddhist. There's a lot of Buddhism, believe it or not, a lot of Buddhist adjacent actions and beliefs embedded in Catholicism that you probably aren't even aware of. But I see it. And so when I get too Protestant-y in this process of hanging out with Catholics, I have
Is
to
that a
turn
word?
No, of course not. I have to turn on. I have
But you
to.
protest too much.
I have to turn on the Buddhist part of myself and say, no, it's just be in it. Just be in it, around it, and then worry about the belief part. Don't worry about everything. So much about Protestantism is getting everything right and believing it. And yes, there's that part. Catholics have that in them. But then you drill into it more and you find, listen to some Bishop Barron. That's why I played that funny clip with the Swaggart bit, you're never going to hear a Protestant do that. A Protestant is either in or out with Swaggart. Swaggart is in or out with your typical Protestant. He's never going to entertain that. That's not how Protestants work. So that's what I'm saying. Who's the guy who he's famous Trappist monk who studied Buddhism became famous in the 50s and 60s, I think, 70s. Father anyway, he made Buddhism. He took deep dives into Buddhism and integrating it with his Catholic practice. And maybe I should study him more. I got to remember his name.
So,
does any of that make sense? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I think everything that a Catholic believes is really embedded somewhere in the liturgy. It's very rare. Oh yeah, Thomas Burton.
Yeah, thank you, Ups.
Ups knows everything.
He does. Go ahead, Paul.
So it's the belief. There's a lot of things in the catechism, but basically all of the core doctrines show up in a participatory way, or it's at least referenced in the liturgy. So I have a 7-year-old, and we're doing the Our Father in Latin for Lent at my parish, and that always it frustrates me a little bit because that's one of the parts my 7-year-old can consistently participate in. And it's we're doing it in Latin, so I guess he learned some Latin for a few weeks. But there's something about as you start to understand the liturgy, then you start to understand the belief system, but it's not purely propositional and it's not purely procedural. It sits between the two of those. But I think there's a lot there. There's a lot in those prayers. If you go through them line by line, it's just theologically very dense. But if you have things you want to do, go through some of the Eucharistic prayers, just pull them up on the internet and just go through them line by line, and just focus on so give your time, instead of it just sort of washing over you, spending a little bit of time on here are the words that are actually being said, and then you'll hear them when you're actually in the liturgy. Anyway.
There is something to that. It's It is theologically dense. And what I find myself, see, the only reason I'm in this is because I'm in a sense it's where Jesus is, and there's a calling. It's not that I'm saying Jesus isn't elsewhere. I'm saying that this is just, as I mentioned before, I feel called to do this. Whether I'm called to stay is a different subject, but I'm called to do this. And I feel like in this
You're called
process.
to place your love somewhere, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. The most redundant sticker goes to Mark. Appreciate it. No, I love you, brother. So for me, it mostly goes with there's a lot of, I believe that the passage in Scripture and the Gospels where the man says, I believe, help thou my unbelief. There's that helps me. That little itty tiny little sliver of a verse is carrying me through this in ways that I've not ever had to use it. It was just a passage in Scripture before. This is one of those that I'm actually using it in this because there's just so much here that, as you said, with so much that is theologically dense. There's so much to cover. There is, in a sense, it's not an intellectual exercise, and so I am using this passage to kind of keep me going. Because there are parts when if I put a gun to my head, say, "Do you believe or don't believe?" It's depends.
Believe what?
That's what I'm saying. It's a theologically dense environment that you look at one thing or another thing, and it's very hard to, in a confessional way, say, that I believe in something. It's like, I believe, but Lord, help my unbelief. There's some that these things are present together in my sad, sinful body and mind.
Can I just give a description of my understanding of the word belief?
Mm-hmm.
It's to love something without rhyme or reason. That's belief. I believe in my wife. There's no specific, logical, sensible reason. But I don't care. I believe her. I believe in her. I believe in my children. There's no logical reason for it. And I don't care if there's a logical reason or not. I believe in my children because I love them.
Yes, that's true. Very true. Yeah.
I think I'm trying to I'm pulling it up. I think the etymology is for belief is from Galabin. I'm pulling the proto-generic, which is to hold dear, or it's like literally. I think it's where you place your heart.
Hmm.
So it is sort of like, I think credo is also from that word for heart from a different way.
Hmm.
But it's
yeah. See, that's what I think when it's along those lines, Paul. And I just kind of agree. I think this is where I think Claire's not grokking us. Because she's.
I agree with Claire on that point. I think Catholicism's un-American, and I'm kind of okay with that. But
yeah, I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, it may or may not be. I don't know. The question then is who am I? Am I what am I first? Am I a follower of Jesus first, or am I an American first? There are things. I'll never. I mean, my goal, my aspiration, my hope is to not betray Christ, or to. But I can imagine my government, my country, telling me to do something that I would not do. And I can't imagine Jesus telling me something I would not do without knowing that I was wrong. I mean, yeah, there are things I am disobedient, but I know I'm being disobedient most of the time. I know
You shock me, Mark.
It's glaring, right? But I can imagine being very happily un-American under certain circumstances. As for Whig history, she brought up study Whig history. Where is it?
Who's Sam?
Sam Tiedemann, I'm guessing.
Huh?
Sam Tiedemann. Sam.
Yeah, I know Sam Tiedemann. I like him.
Yeah, I think that's who
disagree
she's
with
talking
him a
about.
lot, but I don't see the relevance.
There's another one. If you have no conviction that the afterlife exists, then you have no conviction that God exists. So go to the church you like the most and then hop on another when you get bored.
Fair enough.
This is not a problem for me,
This is logical.
I suppose, if that's
Claire
where
is
you're going.
logical. She
Yes,
does
yes.
good logic.
It is an
I think
influence.
there's a place for
I know the Whigs well. Yes.
there's a
Go ahead.
place for commitment to the community, where if you're integral to that community, you like PVK. I don't want PVK to become Catholic because he has a deep commitment to his community, and I think there's real value in what he's getting there. Sorry, I'm being soft. So anyway, I'll stop. But I think there's something, there's reasons not to switch, even if times get tough.
Yeah, I agree. There's good reason to. Well, look, as Tayo brought up, I mean, Paul represents the son who stayed on the farm in the parable of the prodigal. I represent the son who didn't. Okay.
I'm with you, Mark, but
In some ways, neither
Hasn't
understands
miles
each other.
further.
Yeah, it's a struggle for both to understand each other. But there's a definite, as Tayo pointed out, the son who stays on the farm has something to teach the son who didn't, and vice versa. I think both.
yeah, and it's normally the eldest son that stays on the farm, and I'm the youngest son, so of course I'm going to go. It's bound to happen.
I'm the oldest and I stayed on the farm, so there we go. Just a different farm.
Different farm. Let's see. Come on, Moose. I would highly recommend reading Carlos Ayer's Reformations for a really good contemporary overview of that history, because it's surprising the history you're going to get on a subject like this is the history that's taught typically in the culture you find yourself in. So if you're in England, you're going to get one version of the history. Carlos Ayers does a really balanced treatment and you'll find that in many, many ways, the Protestants struck first, even though, so specific individuals or the Catholics were pretty hard on the Lollards going into the Protestant Reformation. The Protestants were extremely aggressive. So, yeah, if you're resentful, if you don't like the Catholics, I think in Sam's case, Sam's history goes before the Protestants. His beef goes back to the Church Fathers. So he feels that history very viscerally. But part of it may be more about his personal experience with evangelical congregations in the lifetime of his father and himself. So he has a kind of immediate memory of how they've been treated as non-Trinitarian Christians in various churches.
Can you all stop this crap? You
Stop.
people who call themselves Christians, we're all trying to bathe in the light of God, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
And people are saying, "Oh, your way's wrong and my way's right." It's
Yeah.
like, look,
There's
the
a couple
goal
things.
is the same. Just
Yes.
stop it.
Yeah. Well, here's a couple things though. There's two perspectives on this. I think you're right. You can take it from the perspective as a
No, there's
sympathetic.
not.
Hold on.
Stop it. Stop
Bear
it.
with
Stop.
me. I'm not arguing with you on the point. I'm not arguing the point. I'm trying to offer a perspective. So bear with me.
I get it.
No, you don't.
it's
You're not
like-
listening to me. You're not listening. So let me try.
Love you, Mark.
I love you too, but this is what I'm doing here. See, I'm the liberal guy who told Sam Tiedemann 6 months or a year ago. I said, dude, you'd be elder in my church any day of the week. You don't believe in the church, I don't care, but your knowledge is great, your heart's in the right place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I find you to be a kind, generous, upstanding Christian man. Flip it around though. Why not submit myself? There's a line out of Paul, the Apostle Paul, to the Corinthians. It's chapter 3 of 1 Corinthians. And he says, why not just be defrauded? You've been defeated as soon as you start fighting. Why not lose and thereby win for Christ? Why not be, okay, I don't believe in the Trinity. Why not submit myself nevertheless to the authority of the church? Why not submit myself to the priests? I'm a Protestant. I'm instinctively Protestant. I've been Protestant my whole life. Why am I submitting myself to this very strange, very demanding, rigorous, ancient form of Christianity? Why am I going to submit myself to the judgments of the magisterium? Because it's an exercise in, it can be an exercise in humility. It can be, it's not about who's right technically. Sam makes a very good argument about the history of the church and the development of the Trinity as a doctrine. That it took 1,000 years for the church to fully develop its Trinitarian theology and its position. It really did it. When you go through it, it really took them a long time to sort the subject out.
Took me 20 years.
That's right. You did a video on it. It was a hard, long struggle. Who am I to challenge the church on its view? Now, yes, the history was brutal, but the times were brutal, and this is how people fought back in the day. I mean, if tables were turned, would the Marcionites have been any kinder to the Orthodox if they had won?
Who are the Marcionites?
Marcion. It was one of the first heresies and all that business. He's the guy who created the first canon and decided that and he threw out the Old Testament as scripture, and so the church had to. It's one of the very first church controversies. This is why we have a canon of scriptures. This is why we have 4 gospels and not 1.
Is he our namesake?
Marcion? No.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't
You
think
sure?
so. No. The name precedes him. There were Marks long before Marcion. Yes? Do I have my history right, guys? Tell me if I'm wrong. I'm flying off the cuff here with my memory. I'm just trying. Hopefully, I've got names right and all that.
I'm not. I think you're right.
I should be close to right.
I'm not.
not.
I know who you're talking about. So there we go.
Yeah, I could be, but you never know with me. I'm a 62-year-old brain.
Gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm falling asleep now.
It's time. It is late. No, we've got to shut her down anyway.
I would have liked to sing out the final, but you guys keep chatting.
Okay. Do you have a song you said?
I do have a song, Crosby, Stills and Nash, Southern Cross.
All right, give us a couple bars.
Okay, just a couple of bars. Got out of town on a boat, going to Southern Islands, sailing a reach before the following sea. She was making for the trades on the outside, and the downhill run to Papate Bay. Off the wind on his heading lie the Marquesas. We got 80 feet on the waterline, nicely making way. In a noisy bar in Avalon, I tried to call you. But on the midnight watch, I realized why twice you ran away. Something like that.
Very good. I recognized it. You did good.
Cool.
Good. All right, guys. Paul Allen, anything? You got a song for us, Paul? No.
No pressure.
You won't want to hear me sing, so. All right, let's call it.
Everyone can sing. I wish everyone would understand this. Everyone can sing.
Yeah, I know.
Please, just try it.
I'll sing. I'll come up with something.
It's a gift
sometime.
from God.
Yes.
We speak when we sing when we speak. And I can prove this, but maybe not now.
Okay.
Just listen to the intonations you use when you say hello or good morning or blah, blah, blah. The very exact notes.
You're right, Mark. If I start singing in the office, then people start looking in my window.
Love you, Paul.
All right, guys. God bless and have a good weekend if we don't talk sooner. And yeah,
Night, folks.
and appreciate the generous offer, Paul. And it's if it's I'm still improvising. I'm having a hard time. It's a lot of work for me to make appointments, but we do need to do a deep dive on the.
Your last deep dive with Neil was awesome, so I'm guessing if you did a deep dive with Paul, it would also be awesome. So you guys do that.
The church wants you to accept their cookies. Touche, Maria Orlando. Touche. I like that one.
It's actually cake in England.
Cake. Is that what you guys serve at communion?
For
Cake?
YouTube search, Eddie Izzard, Cake or Death. It's hysterical. It's about the Church of England.
That's probably true. Didn't have to be what it was. Do we have to, well, here's the question I guess I want to leave you all with, and you can answer me next time, Claire. Is the Protestant Reformation was inevitable? If the Protestant Reformation was inevitable, do we have to continue it? And I suppose that's the subject that I'm addressing with my life right now.
I think the better word would be irresistible. That's the problem.
I have lots of thoughts on the topic, and more. We'll tackle those a different day.
For another day. All right. God bless everybody. Thank you all. Thank you guys.
Bless you all.
Thank you, Todd.